I've done a lot of flipping on my opinions on Byte by Night. At first I was very hesitant to get excited for it because the game just didn't look unique enough to catch my eye in a way of a lot of other games did at the time. Then I gave it a tentative decent ranking a few days later after it came out because it was still new and novel at the time. But now that the game has actually had time to breathe and give an actual impression instead of just, hey, this game is kind of fun your first playthrough, and what seems to be the design philosophy they're going for. The longer the game goes on, the more cracks start to show, which is kind of crazy because there are some pretty big ones on launch already. Be it strange killer design, boring survivor gameplay, and bad base mechanics that just screw over what fun the game actually could have had 99% of the time, there's a lot to unpack. Before I do though, just remember that I do not hate any person working on this game, nor do I think this game deserves to die. This is going to be a fairly negative video, but I do not have any ill will towards any person working on the game. In fact, I do want this game to succeed, it's pretty cool. But a part of having a game succeed is having people willing to criticize it so that it can be the best game that it can be. With all of that out of the way, if you liked the video, like it. If you disliked it, dislike it. Subscribe and join my community Discord. Link is in the pinned comment, and let's not waste any more time and unpack this bigger video that I'm making. Now, there are a lot of things that I can get into when it comes to this game. The abysmal maps, the lackluster cast, the infuriating and inconsistent gameplay loop. Honestly, this game has a lot of qualities that make it less than stellar to play. Though, to understand how bad it can be at times, I do want to give a little context. A few days ago, I was setting up a video where I would play against a competitive Byte by Night team. I came in thinking that, I would be able to fairly keep up. Maybe not server wipe, but, keep up with their pace, get a few kills in. After all, I am a fairly decent player at the game. And, I was wrong. Very much so. But to understand why, we have to talk about DSD and the stamina mechanic as a whole. Originally, it worked like this. You had a lower stamina drain if you hit someone with any move that did damage, meaning you were weak early game, but later you did better because you could keep up with pace with people after getting that first hit. The system was flawed, of course, especially on characters like Ennard who was slow and struggled to get that first hit. So it was changed to work more like Bloodlust from Dead by Daylight, where the longer you're in chase, the less stamina drain you get. A few things take you out of this new Bloodlust mechanic though, namely exiting chase or hitting someone, which sounds good on paper, especially with Byte by Night being a stamina management game, which means you're more likely to tunnel out one person after getting that hit, so it works in single person chases. But quickly you'll see the faults of the two systems of stamina and DSD when you have a team who, well, works like a team. While I admit, this isn't particularly common right now, it very much could be in the future with people getting better at the game. All it takes is one stun, tase, or trap to reset chase, and by extension your DSD, making it nearly impossible to catch up, especially considering the looping style of the gameplay. I mean, the game's not even been out that long, and one of the biggest complaints is the looping, which I just want to say I called back before the game even came out, and they fucking lied to me in my comments. Fucking breadlords, get out of here with that comment, bro. Like, how do you feel about the DSD actually?
Ooh, Fricket, I know you want to answer this. I know you want to answer this.
It's like hard to say because it kind of like just changed, but at least when I'm playing Killer, like it feels okay most of the time, but if people know how to abuse it, it's like it feels really bad for both Survivor and Killer, honestly. Like
Yeah, because both sides can definitely abuse it. Like
yeah,
how it
both
works.
sides, like if you're just out of DSD range, they can just like kind of loop you forever. If they're not, then you just catch them eventually, and there's not much you can do about it unless you get fighter stunned or something. And it's just kind of, yeah, it just kind of feels bad on both sides a lot of the time.
I would say it feels like it was just thrown together last minute because initially DSD was a bug and it wasn't supposed to exist. And then later on with the update where tech came out, it was kind of added as a last minute change in the change logs that, oh yeah, we reworked DSD. And as you can tell, a majority of the community did not like that change, whether it was comp or even just the general public. And then they changed it once more. And honestly, because they're, again, I mentioned this earlier, but they're tending to push changes out very quickly. And because of that, nothing is really thought out or fleshed out, and then it's received poorly on all sides.
And you're a tester, right, Raya? I just want to.
I'm a balancer, but yeah, I would fall into the category of tester as well.
Okay. So, what you're saying is you don't think that how they do the things ends up how do I say this? So what you're saying is you think a lot of the things that they do ends up being rushed or half baked instead of like anything else?
Yeah, as of right now, yes. There's been a lot of rushed things in terms of everything going into the game.
Actually, funnily enough, from what I gathered from talking to some of the testers in this game, DSD was originally a bug, according to the balancing testing people that I was able to talk with. Something to do with how like M1 stopped you from moving, which gave the stamina weird properties or something like that. Just a little thought to ponder as to why it might feel so half-baked. Though, since this half-baked feature is so baked into the game, there really isn't much that you can do to fix it without completely reworking the systems. This isn't even including the cancer that is doors, especially if the team you're going against is altruistic and uses them to let someone you've been chasing escape and essentially for free. There really isn't much counterplay to it. Sure, you have minions and traps, but there's only so much you can do when there's 70 bajillion doors. Mimic can jump over some of them, but only on the forest map, and he can also drill under them, but that also takes time and wastes an ability. Essentially, the game tries to differentiate itself from other games in the same genre, but the way it does end up doing that ends up frustrating, unfun, inconsistent, and falling flat. I'm all for an ASIM having limited resources, but are the doors really limited? Given the maps have between 3 to 6 doors, that's like 9 to 18 hits. That's a lot of door hits installing. Given the maps often have between 3 and 6, you're not going to use all of them, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of having limited resources if it's not limited. You know, I had a physics teacher one time. I don't remember his name, but he was an absolute sweetheart, and he had a motto when it came to projects. Keep it simple, stupid. And DSD simply just isn't simple. I mean, it's not complicated by any means, it's just holding Shift and W, but it doesn't serve a purpose how it is right now other than just making it more complicated and cluttered. Old DSD worked, kind of, like it definitely could have used some refining, but it worked because it was simple to understand. Though, this isn't to say that some complication or fleshed out things are a bad thing. I definitely prefer more fleshed out survivors than killers. Maybe Bite by Night has some like really in-depth survivors, or at the very least killers, with like fully fleshed out gameplay that makes you want to come back time and time again. But I'm sad to say this isn't really the case. Though, to explain why, we have to look at survivor gameplay first. Generators and batteries and honestly objectives as a whole are going to get a lot of hate anyway, so that's not what I'm going to target. Though I do hate that there's such an integral part of the game, to the point that nothing really functions without them. Don't like that. But I can understand why some people do. After all objectives are completed, survivors just kind of sit around. This isn't even like a criticism of their moveset, so that will happen in a minute. I will criticize their movesets in a minute. But survivor gameplay just isn't engaging, or fun most of the time. After the generators and the batteries get done, you just kinda sit around, or run around a wall once or twice. There really isn't much engagement for more than like one person at a time from the killer. Because chases are so tunnel focused, this ends up making it to where you don't really end up caring about anyone else, except for the person that you're chasing, which ends up being pretty boring for the other survivors because the only thing to do after generators are done is just chases, and only one person can really be chased at a time. Of course, teamwork can be a thing, but realistically, the only one who's going to be helping is security guards because they don't have a conditional stun. Fighters do, though, and they're actually the ones I want to talk about first. Fighters in this game are wildly inconsistent. After that first hit, there is absolutely no guarantee you're ever hitting another stun again. This design philosophy is fine, I guess, but it's just as cookie cutter as you can possibly get for a fighter class. It's a parry and a stun. It's honestly so overdone that it's kind of cliche at this point. Medics are the bane of people's existences. Once you find a medic, you cannot let them go because of their strong self-heal. If you lose them, you lose all of that progress you had on them and all the time that you took chasing them. Plus, they're pretty okay healing other people too. Again, very cookie cutter as a medic. There are some cool things that you could have done with a medic, like anti-hemorrhagics to reduce bleeding and make someone take less damage or something. That would be pretty cool while also fitting the medic niche, and making them stand out more than just, oh yeah, I also have a self-heal. Security guards are a mixed bag. They're strong at resetting chases, but if they don't know what they're doing, then they're really easy to punish. I honestly like this class and have, like, no qualms against them. They're unique and have counterplay. I like them. Customer is a stupid class, no one plays them. They have a self-heal and a speed boost, but that's about it. Absolutely boring and the worst offender of the does nothing after objectives are done trend. A character that made me want to make this video in the first place. Technician is an odd character. They're sort of a mix of survivalist and trapper, except neither really work that, and overall just ends up with a fairly underwhelming character that really doesn't have any synergy with their own kit, much less anyone else's. It's a weird trapper with an ability that barely works for survivalist. I feel like it would have made more sense for the technician to fully lean into the trapper mechanics, or just another support move, at least. I feel like this character was rushed out of the woodworks too early, especially with how map dependent they are. All of the survivors just end up feeling samey. They all hold shift and W, and that's pretty much the entire game plan. Sure, you sometimes throw in an ability, but overall there's really not much to differentiate the characters enough to make me want to care about them and play them. This isn't even mentioning maps. Maps are a real weak spot in this game. No map feels significant, at least in my opinion. We have a random warehouse, a forest that might be loosely based off the forest in the FNAF 4 loading screen, and the pizzeria that's probably meant to be like the FNAF 1 pizzeria, I suppose, but with like a slightly altered layout. All of these maps end up falling flat for one reason or another, except for Factory, which is probably the best map in the game to play, which isn't that high of a bar, but it's something. Pizzeria is claustrophobic and tight and annoying to play in. There's so many things to get stuck on and so many doors, and you just generally don't have much wiggle room as killer. Survivors have a lot of loops, and not all of them can be trapped either because there's so many of them. Considering how easy it is for your teams to reset DSD, some of these loops can become true infinites, which, I shouldn't have to tell you, is bad. Forest is the worst offender of the looping though. There's not too much that you can do as killer on Forest unless the teams are brain dead. There are absolutely no places that feel particularly unsafe. There's always a loop nearby. Always. There really isn't a spot where a killer can catch you off guard either because the map is so open. It's abysmal to play on and just leaves me annoyed to play if I'm killer, or even survivor sometimes. It's just annoying. Killer gameplay is horrible. With the new DSD nerfs, I am positive that this is probably the worst killer experience I've ever had, which is a bold statement because I used to play Outcome Memories a lot. This isn't helped by the fact that a lot of the killers simply just don't feel unique anymore. Sure, the Mimic is kinda cool, but they're also extremely flawed killer design-wise. I'm not going to go in too much detail because I already did that previously, but it's true. The gameplay just ends up being a mindless shift W until you catch up and win. Unless there's like 3 more competent people, in which you're never just gonna end up catching anyone because your DSD just gets reset after getting stunned. It's a shame too, because the killers in this game, at least with the old DSD, were very cool and felt unique. But with the new version, you're forced to play the same playstyle on all the killers more or less, which just ends up hurting the game's already terrible replay value. This really isn't a game that I can play for hours. It's really only a game I can stomach for a few times a day because the match blends together so fast. None of them feel unique, which is baffling because every killer is supposed to be completely different in how they play.
Okay, so for Mimic, I think that currently, as of right now, I believe that they aren't the most suited for competitive because of the fact that they have no tapping ability. They are a victim to basically all of Bite by Night's base mechanics. Like, they don't have an amazing answer to door barricades. They don't have an amazing answer to, just denying map areas. And so while other killers like Ennard and Springtrap can do that and limit the map, Mimic cannot do that at all. They only have a couple of tools that lets them initiate chase or maintain chase.
Okay.
And as for Ennard, right, I think Ennard is possibly the most viable in comp right now because of the fact that he is very balanced in terms of how a killer works. Like, he has very good area denial. He can maintain chase pretty well, and he has a grab that can just directly punish people like security guards or just people that are trying to go into doors. And so he has, I think, the most options when it comes to chase, and that's what makes him the best.
The maps are theoretically different, but there's only 3 of them, and none of them are amazing to play on. Add on the boring survivor and killer gameplay, and honestly, I just don't see how people glaze this game so much. None of this is to say that game can't be good. I can certainly be fun at times, like absolutely, but as it stands, there's just not much of a reason to keep me coming back. The map design is boring, the killers are frustrating, and the survivors are so cookie cutter that honestly it makes me yearn for the white woman jump scare from Security Breach. Like, at least that's funny. The game has a lot of issues, and the issues are not going to be easy to remedy. Is the game too far gone? Not yet, but as it stands, I don't see Byte by Night keeping a sound player base for more than 6 months as we continue going on. There's nothing about the game makes me want to play it, and this is a sentiment that a lot of players have, including competitive players, which are generally the people that spend the most amount of time in your game. Anyway, this is the end of the video. If you liked the video, like it. If you disliked it, dislike it. Subscribe and join my community Discord, and I hope to see you in the future. Bye bye.